musician slang terms. So, hey, there we go. So, the very first category of slang that I got for you guys is sound and production. You might be a producer and you might be talking to a musician and be trying to get a particular sound or a particular tone out of that instrument. And so these are the kind of words that we're going to be using. First one here is dirty and clean. So dirty and clean refers to the amount of distortion that you have on your sound. And I'll do a quick little demonstration here. Let's see. Let's do a little simple bass sound like this. Okay. Now I have a little distortion preset here. It might be loud, I'm warning you. Okay, so here's clean again. Here's dirty. And that's real dirty. So there we go. We have dirty and clean. The second little term here we have bright versus dark. This is one that musicians get made fun of all the time for, but it's actually quite simple. Bright and dark is referring to some sort of EQ, some sort of graphical equalization, or a filter of some sort. And I'll demonstrate that for you as well. There's a nice little string sound that I absolutely love. So here's a little string. I'm going to hold one note down here, and I'm going to darken it. Here we go. Oh, by the way, brightness, you can get a sound brighter by doing the opposite, by taking away low frequencies, which would sound like this. And you can kind of hear the wah. That's all of those low frequencies disappearing. All you have left is way up there. Okay. Next, I'm going to try and go through these real quick. It's going to be a speed run of slang terms here. If you have any of your own slang terms, leave them in the comments down below. Here we go. Next, warmth. Warmth. Another one that musicians get made fun of. Things have to be warm. Oh, warm. What does warm mean? What is warmth? Okay, warmth is a specific combination of effects that I'm talking about here. And so when we say warmth in the studio, we're referring to a little bit of saturation, like the distortion effect we heard earlier, in combination with a darkening of the timbre. An example of an echo that has a very warm, kind of saturated tone to it. And here it is. I'll take a little keyboard sound here. There it is. And here's with our nice warm, saturated echo. And you can even darken it up a little more. So there's warmth, okay? Warmth is usually referring to the kind of sound that we had back in the days of vinyl records. Vinyl had a very warm sound, as well as tape. Tape machines have a very warm sound. There's not a lot of high frequency, really high tinny. That's more of a digital thing. So let's keep going here. Delay throws. So a delay throw is not the same as just putting a delay on a sound. Here's just putting a delay on the sound. There it is for you. So that we simply call delay. But a delay throw is when you save it for the very end of that musical phrase. So if we did something like this. It's just at the very end. That's the throw. I guess it's because back in the day when we had analog consoles, they would throw the fader up right at the very end of that sound. So there's the delay throw. Reverb tails. Okay, this is kind of the same thing, but with reverb. So here's some reverb. Here we go, simple reverb. Without and with, there's actually some reverb on there already, but The reverb tail is when we do something like this. Check this out. It's where we take the very end of the reverb, we just turn it up really loud. And so that's the reverb tail, okay? You only get this stuff if you're automating your effects end. Okay, next, side chaining. Again, all of this has to do with production. It all has to do with sound production in the studio. Side chaining is an effect that sounds like this. It's a really cool effect. Watch this now. You can kind of hear it dipping, right? I'll give you an example with the drum beat that we had earlier. I'll side chain. So that's side chaining. Basically dips the sound every time we have a beat. Next, stutters. Stutters are super fun. One of my favorite effects. Let's talk about some rapper slang here. Some of the stuff rappers say when they're in the vocal booth. First one is obviously in the booth. You may have heard guys talking about, I'm up in the booth. Okay, we're talking about the vocal booth. That's a little small room that's acoustically isolated where they get to sing their vocal and you're not getting any feedback from the beat or the music or anybody else. So that's the booth. Run it back. You might hear some rappers say, all right, that was a good take, but run it back for me. That refers to, all right, we've done a track. Now, may not have been my best work. Run it back to the beginning. I'm going to redo it. Or I'm going to layer on top of it and do some doubling. And the last one here we have when it comes to sound is hot or hotness, or that's a little hot, or it's a little too hot, or it's not hot enough, okay? That's referring to just the level of loudness. Okay, if somebody ever talks about a sound and they say, oh, that's a little too hot, man, they're not talking about the temperature. Hopefully not, because if that's the case, you might lose some equipment that day. But hotness has to do with the level, the sound level. I don't have to demonstrate that for you bright genius people out there.